Welcome to Mainline Connect. My name is Jennifer Lynn Robinson, and my guest today is Jennifer Toscano of Getz from Worldwide Incorporators. This show will talk about discussing networking topics. We'll have an interview with Jennifer, and we'll also talk about a few events that you should know about in the Mainline area and beyond. Welcome, Jennifer.
Thank you for having me today.
So our networking topic for today, which I told you about ahead of time, was kind of those awkward networking situations. So specifically, when you arrive at an event, sometimes you arrive and there's friends or people you know, and sometimes you arrive and you realize you don't know anybody in the room. And I think, for some of us, that's not an intimidating situation. We're happy to talk to people, and for others, that's an extremely intimidating situation. So what do you do when you get to an event and you don't know anybody in the room? So a couple pointers. Some of it may seem basic, but I swear to you it helps. Get in line for the food or drink at the event. If you're not the kind of person that wants to approach groups of people or even somebody else that you don't know, get in line for the food or drink, because other people will be in line with you, and it'll be much easier to strike up a conversation than having to make that initial approach that you didn't want to make in the room. Another thing you can do is, it's always good, is to introduce yourself to the host or hostess or whoever's doing registration or plan the event. That'll be somebody that knows a lot of people in the room and will be enthusiastic about talking to you, if it's your first time there, and you can also ask them to make some introductions for you so you don't feel like you don't know anyone, and they will be happy to make those steps for you if you're the kind of person that doesn't like to make those steps yourself. Last thing is just, if you can approach people to the extent that you're comfortable with that, and again, tell them it's your first time, and they will be happy to make the introductions. And also ask them about the organization. If it's your first time there, ask them about why they like it, how it's helped them or their business or their network, and what kinds of things they get out of it that might be good for you to know to decide if you want to come back and maybe join. What about you, Jennifer? Have you dealt with any of those awkward situations? And you're pretty outgoing. I mean, yeah.
But you know what? For me, if I'm going into a new place, a new bunch of people, sometimes I'm a little bit shy, a little hesitant. I usually look for somebody that's in there solo.
Okay.
And I approach them, and I think it's better for each of us, and it's like a higher comfort level of, okay, they're alone, I'm alone, and let's strike up a conversation. And usually then that opens up to meeting additional people.
That's a great idea, because I think it's not hard when you get in a room to see, there are some other loners that are in the room just like me, and usually, I mean, not always, but I think usually people are trying to stay busy, like, maybe they're looking at their phone or, looking at a piece of paper or whatever. They're trying to kind of be, self-involved so that it doesn't seem like they're alone in the room, but they don't want to make those steps. So I think that's a great idea, kind of introducing yourself to those solo people, and then by the time you start to talk to them, you're a group of two, and then hopefully some other people will come join and talk to you. So that's a great tip.
Yep.
Yeah. So tell us about your business. I guess specifically, tell us about how you got started. I love talking to people about the idea of whether you always wanted to be an entrepreneur or this is just something that came about. You know me personally, in my own life, I was a lawyer in my previous life, and I never had goals of being an entrepreneur. So I'm always interested to hear people's stories. I think there's some people that grow up saying, I always wanted to be an entrepreneur, I came from a family of entrepreneurs, and then other people, not at all. So let's hear your story.
Well, for me, my background with school was international relations and Spanish, so I was always interested in other cultures, other different foods, different businesses, especially international business. So for me, I didn't know I wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I knew that I wanted to work with people from all over the world. Okay. So my first job in the offshore industry sort of led me to where I am today with onshore. And so I worked for a competitor, and I worked there for 5 years, and I realized, gosh, this is kind of a niche industry in the incorporation service company. And I really like what I do. I'm really interested in it, and I think I can do this better, and I think I can do this myself. So that was my time to go. I was also young, and I could take that step.
Right. So at the time, you didn't have a family yet.
Correct.
Right? You were married or not married?
Correct. I was married. Okay. So my husband had a job, and we had that stability, and we didn't have children yet. So we decided this is it. And so we took the plunge, and you realize you're probably not going to have an income for I don't know how long.
Right.
And that's what I did. So I was able to actually make a profit the first year, and then shortly thereafter, I ended up getting divorced and sort of flying solo with the business, and that was one of those moments of, this is it, make or break.
Right.
I'm on my own.
So you started the business with your ex-husband,
Yes.
and then it seems like not too long after that, but while you were already profitable, you guys parted ways.
Yes.
And then it was kind of, I have to make this work.
Right,
Right.
right, and now 17 years later. So
And you have, and you've really made it work. Yeah.
Yes,
So
and
that's definitely a wonderful thing.
it's
Yeah.
been great. I mean,
Yeah.
it certainly is. It's sometimes it's just learning by failure, organic growth. We're a mixture of everything, and now we're in a sort of a very stable position where I feel comfortable where we are today.
So when you started out, was it just you and your husband, or did you start out with employees, or how soon did you hire when you started?
I was the only employee, and
Okay.
then we did have a subcontractor that came in from a previous employer, so he had experience, and he worked part-time and did some sales work.
Okay.
And then eventually, I guess it was probably about 2 years in when we decided we can do this, we can hire a full-time employee. We were in that position.
So when you say we were in that position, was it based on kind of the income you're bringing in for the company, the work you had, or both?
It was a combination. It was
Okay.
definitely, we were able to afford an employee, a full-time employee at that point. We also were generating more business at the time, and I
Right.
could see a continued growth. And then I realized that I needed to kind of stick to what I knew, and that's sales and marketing. I need to get out there. In order for me to get out, I need somebody to be in the office handling the day-to-day work.
Yeah, I see that with a lot of small business owners, and I think it's really a disservice. And I think you realized it early on, which is good, which is that you have to be out there. You're the face of the business. You're the person that's passionate about it, that started it, that can sell it. And it's much more important for you to be out there than be doing sort of the busy work at the desk that other
Right.
people can be doing when you're out in the networking field and all of that. So I think it's good that you realized that early on. I think a lot of people don't realize that, and they're very much stuck in their business, and nobody's getting out there. They don't have somebody else in sales or doing social media, and there's kind of nobody getting out there to grow those
Right.
relationships for them.
Absolutely.
So that probably was very helpful, I would think, to your business.
Very
Yeah.
helpful because
Yeah.
the business is my baby, my reputation, and I wanted to get out there. And I'm the face of the company.
Yeah.
And obviously having great employees in place is super important.
Sure. Now, at some point, you started having a family, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So how did that change things, as far as your ability to be out there and travel, and did it change the business model at all?
Not so much the model. I think I
Okay.
had to really work on my schedule and how I'm going to make this work. My oldest daughter was very easy. She could be with me in the office, not a problem. She slept a lot. My second one's kind of a little wild, so we had to work through that. And actually finding daycare for her early on is really what she needed. She needed to be surrounded by other kids.
Okay.
And that gave me the opportunity to be in the office, not full-time, but enough to manage and make sure everything's okay. And then, of course, being able to work from home nowadays is a big thing that we didn't have years ago.
Right.
So I did work remotely, and that was a big help.
And that's obviously possible because you have your own company. I mean,
Yes,
I
yes.
think, these days there are a lot of kind of corporations and bigger businesses that realize the value of allowing that flexibility, but a lot of them still don't.
Right.
But clearly being an entrepreneur, you have that ability. That's definitely one of the pluses.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
When I started the company, that was in the back of my mind.
Yeah.
Is how can I make this work? I don't want to have a child in daycare, 10, 11 hours a day. I want
Right.
to be able to have that sort of happy medium.
Right. Now I'm curious, now that your kids are a little older, do you feel like they have that sort of entrepreneurial spirit that they see, mom's been able to build this company? Is it something that you see them considering at all?
I see my younger one considering it. She's out there selling things door to door already in her neighborhood.
That's awesome.
Her lemonade stand. And I could see that. She has sort of that sales mentality, entrepreneurial
Right.
spirit.
I think that's great.
Yeah.
I mean, because I think there's a lot of kids that grow up thinking, I can't really do that. Or maybe it's later in life you realize maybe this is an option. But seeing mom, grow this business, which is now 17 years, in the making, and very successful, must be great for the kids. Yeah.
They, and it's funny because they always say, "Oh, mom's the boss. Mom's the boss." It's cute. It's just, and they're very supportive, and they understand that sometimes I can't be the homeroom mom.
Right.
But I am there for almost every event.
Right.
And again, having your own business will give you that
Sure.
opportunity.
That's great. So as far as successes or failures, is there any particular success or failure you might want to share with us over the years with your business?
I would say from a success standpoint, the fact that we were profitable the first year.
Right.
And that through a divorce and having a child shortly thereafter, that I was able to keep the business going. From a failure standpoint, I definitely think the number one failure is a bad hire. I've had a
Right.
few bad hires, and they could really disrupt the entire office and sort of the flow. So I always look at it, you know, going forward, I've made very good choices with my hires.
Yes.
And that's one thing that I definitely recommend, that you take your time.
And I hear that a lot. You
Yeah.
know, I think it's, you know, even if you don't have to necessarily have a lot of mechanisms in place to outright fire somebody, the time that you invest in interviewing and training and kind of getting them up to speed, you know, and then realizing they're not a good fit, I mean, that's a lot of time away from your business.
Absolutely.
And, you know, it's more important to just kind of hire the right people in the first place.
Right.
So,
And it's disruptive to the office, especially a
Sure.
small office.
sure.
Absolutely.
So, you know, after making kind of a mistake hire, let's say, how do you feel like your process changed? You know, do you go through a more rigorous process now, or do you kind of, I know some businesses, especially small businesses, will hire somebody as sort of a test. You know, we'll hire you for 30 days or 90 days and see how it works out. Is there anything that you do that's kind of improved that process for yourself?
Well, references are huge, and I
Okay.
think dig deep with the references.
Okay.
The more the better, and ask a lot of questions, because if I had done that, I think a few of those hires wouldn't have made it in the door. But we do put people on sort of a temporary hiring process in the beginning
Yeah.
for 60 days to see how it goes.
Okay.
But really asking those deep questions to those references.
Yeah, I think, you know, especially, you know, with social media and everything, you can look at somebody's resume or LinkedIn profile. You know, it can give you ideas both ways. I mean, I know my husband does a lot of hiring with his job, and I know looking at people on social media, sometimes you see, wow, I don't know about that. Maybe that's not someone I want to hire if they're going to put that out there. But the opposite can be true, too, I think. You can look at somebody's LinkedIn profile, let's say, and they look super good on paper, and then you think, wow, this is going to be, you know, a great hire. And then when you delve deeper, like you're talking about in the layers with the references and all that, maybe not so much.
Right.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Facebook's big. I mean, I always check it. I always check Facebook.
Yeah.
And we had two girls from Garnet Valley High School that came in and sort of did a job shadowing. And I told them, I said, you know, you really need to keep that in check,
Yeah.
because employers, schools, they do look, because I look.
Right, right. I always say I'm thankful that I grew up in an era where that didn't exist.
Me too.
But for those of you out there now that are job hunting, this is something you have to keep in mind.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So what about any, you know, maybe a book that's helped you along? It doesn't have to be a business book, but if it is, that's fine. Business or personal book, something that you've relied on to kind of help you, you know, get in the right mindset for your life.
Sure.
Yeah.
Actually, one of your recommendations was Never Eat Alone.
Oh, yeah.
By Keith Ferrazzi. And, you know, I actually keep that out, even though I've read it. I just kind of look at it every once in a while I'm perusing. And I think that's a great book,
Oh, yeah.
because it shows that you can really put yourself out there, and you never know where it's going to lead. And it's okay to ask people. For years, I was afraid to ask. And whether it's work or fundraising, it's okay. And
Right.
usually people are pretty nice.
Yeah, I think the thing with asking, I mean, if I make a generalization, I've read a lot and I've attended a lot of seminars, I'm sure you have too, about the fact that for whatever reason, women are less apt to ask for things. You know, they feel, as a generalization, women feel that they have to build a stronger relationship or a deeper relationship before they ask. And then even if they have that, maybe they still feel not so great about asking. Whereas men will just pick up the phone to somebody they barely know and say, this is what I need. So I think, you know, that book was great because, you know, it really shows you the power of using your network and building those relationships. But yeah, I think that's something that women still are continually improving on. But I think business people in general, I think that idea of asking for help, you know, can sometimes be challenging.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. And it sounds like, you know, you realized early on that you should delegate and hire people and things like that. But I think, you know, for a lot of people, not so much. And then, you know, again, you have to encounter the failures, whatever they are. And some of them, I think, will come as a result of not delegating, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. It takes a
Yeah.
while, I think, to feel comfortable, and it depends on the type of person you are. So
Yeah.
yeah, it took me a while. Even at home, you know, delegation is just
Yeah, no, I mean, at home it's very challenging too. Yeah,
I could do it myself.
right. So what habits do you think that you have that have helped you be a success?
I think that from what people tell me too, that I'm very approachable and
I would
I'm
agree with that.
personable, and especially in a business sort of atmosphere, a lot of networking events, people go in, you know, who do I talk to?
Right.
I'm in my industry, it's very male driven.
I was going to ask that.
So that
Yeah.
is certainly a challenge, and I've sort of been able to kind of navigate my way. Again, being approachable, friendly, personable, which is really kind of my sort of normal disposition, I
Right.
think has been very beneficial. Sometimes I encounter women that come in with this sort of tough attitude, and you don't have to do that.
Right.
And people have told me, you know, we like you. We like doing business. We're doing business because we like you. And that was sort of the first,
Yeah.
you know, their first approach.
Yeah, I think going back to that book, Never Eat Alone, I think, you know, one of the things that I think he really captures in that book is the idea of being your true self and being authentic. And I do think, again, going back to another generalization about women, but, you know, there's this idea that you sort of have to have a professional front that's outside of who you are as a person, and you don't. I mean, you've learned that. You know, it's, you know, I mean, it's. I'm not saying put it all out there, you know, for everybody, you know, but at the same time, I think people getting to know your personality and who you are, and that whole likability, trust factor that we always hear about. I mean, that's why people do business with you.
Right.
I'm sure there are other companies out there that do what you do, you know, but people come to you because they want to, you know.
Right.
And that makes a big difference.
Right.
Yeah.
I try to just be myself, and that's,
Yeah.
you know, you don't have to be somebody else.
Yeah.
And that seems to be working pretty well for me. So.
Yeah, I think it's learning how to be, you know, what does professional mean to you? You know, I think some people have an idea of what professional means. It's buttoned up, it's in a suit, I have to act a certain way, and really it's about, you know, what you're comfortable, what professional looks like for you, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's great. So what about, you know, some places that have helped you with networking? I know, you know, you've said, and I kind of suspected that it's a very male-dominated field that you're in. What kind of networking helps you grow your business and your network?
Actually, I find that going to events where it's sort of woman-dominated,
Okay.
there's something empowering about that. So, you know, of course, we're in some mutual groups together. And I think it's also good to discuss sort of your challenges as a woman together, you know, whether it's kids or school, work, your marriage. I find that those types of networking events, not only are they good for business and, you know, meeting people that can help you and you can help them, but also having sort of a personal touch, a relationship, a contact, which is nice.
Yeah.
I certainly go to other events. I go to sort of accounting groups where I meet and I speak in front of some CPA groups about what services that we offer. Again, that's another sort of male-dominated field. So I try to mix it up a little bit, and I think for me, you sort of are, you kind of sort of fit into a certain group for different reasons.
Yeah.
And again, going to a female networking group, I feel is very empowering, at least for me. And I find that the other women are great, you know, to work with, and I've found a lot of business contacts and made a lot of friends in those groups.
Myself also, I think I would say the same thing, personal and business. And I think just as an entrepreneur too, I think it's also nice because it can get lonely. You know, even though you're at a company that has employees, you know, you're the boss, and you know, whether you're in that situation or a situation like me where, you know, I don't have any employees, it does get lonely. So I mean, to be able to go out and talk to people about the challenges you're facing, whether it's marital or business related, or, you know, how am I going to get to the gym or whatever it is, just to know that there's people that you can pick up the phone or see on a regular basis who are going through some of those same challenges, I think is really helpful.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
So what about balance? I mean, I know we're always all struggling for balance. Is there anything that you feel like you do in your life that has helped you kind of maintain balance, running a business, running a family, you know, having a personal life?
Well, I decided a few years ago I started working from home on Fridays.
Okay.
And for me, I was able to sort of take a step back from being in the office. I can still work, but I'm sort of on my own, and I can get a lot done. I'm very productive. So that's been a good balance for me. On a personal level, I do love to exercise, as you know.
Right.
That's sort of a big part of, and for me, that's, you know, for my mental well-being.
Sure.
You know, and I do my best to go to the kids' events that I can attend, and they recognize that I can't go to everything. But for somebody who's working, I go to probably, I would say, 80 to 90% of their events and all their sporting. And that's important to me. My parents were always at my events, no matter what. So I always want to make sure that I'm there for the kids.
So with social media and internet and games and everything like that, do you have any time during the week or on the weekend where you guys try to unplug? Do you do anything like that?
That's actually one of my goals for next year. I try to unplug on the weekends, but I'm not really that great at it. We do, I mean, we're doing sports on the weekends, kind of running around. So we are somewhat unplugged, but I'm trying to do a little bit more, and also show my kids, my older daughter who's 16, to try to be off that phone.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
social media on the weekends.
I mean, I feel like in some respect I'm lucky I don't have kids, because I feel like it's an example I would want to set for them that I would fail miserably at, because I never unplug, and I think
tough.
it would be important. I think there's a lot of people that do, and I can see the benefit. You know, when you're in a situation like maybe on vacation or something where you're not tethered to your phone and your computer, you know, you just have a whole change of outlook of the world, I think. You know, wow, look, I can just actually just sit and enjoy myself and the activity I'm doing in the present. You know, I mean, it's such a novel concept, right? But I think it's something we all kind of struggle with, because we're so connected. You know,
it is. It's true.
Yeah, it's hard to disconnect. So, yeah. So what about anything on your bucket list or goal that maybe you want to pursue, or it doesn't, again, it can be personal, doesn't have to be business related, anything you're looking towards 2016, somewhere you want to go or something you want to accomplish?
Well, I would love to take the kids, the whole family, to Europe.
Okay.
Because I've been to Europe a couple of times. My husband, my kids have not. And now that the kids are getting a little bit older, I think that would be a great experience. I just love, like I was saying, I love culture, international, just everything, the languages, and that would be a great opportunity. So I think we're looking towards that in the next year or so.
That's great. That sounds wonderful. Yeah. So any particular place you want to go, or just kind of a couple places?
Italy would be fantastic.
Italy. Yeah.
Because I'm half Italian, so I would love to go there.
And have the girls have never been to Italy? Okay.
No.
That's going to be quite an experience.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Yeah. Well, that's something you can hold over their head, I would think, to try to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. If you unplug or you do well on your test or everything, we can plan this trip to Italy.
Right, there you go.
Yeah. So what about being a leader at your job? So it sounds like, you know, you're at a point now where you have regular employees, and how do you think you've evolved as a leader from when you first started?
I think that what I do is I involve my employees pretty much in any sort of situation, any sort of changes or feedback in the office. We have an open door policy, and that has made them feel very comfortable with me and the company as a whole. My employees have come from larger companies and have shared with me that they don't have that feel. They don't have that sense of importance. And so with the open door policy and we meet every 2 weeks, they have that sense of, yeah, what I'm saying is actually important to Jennifer and to Worldwide Incorporators. So I think as a leader, I think that's probably my best, I guess, attribute, is having that policy with them. And, you know, when we have our interviews, all my employees have pretty much said the same thing, is that we love being part of something, part of growth. And, you know, I might not take all of their suggestions and put them into place, but a lot of them we have, and we've changed policies because I want to hear what they have to say. They're working one-on-one with the customers.
Now, as a leader, do you feel like, do you make an effort to have that flexibility for your employees, you know, as far as their family commitments and things like that, as far as having a workplace like that? Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, because we're a small office, when somebody's out, it is certainly a hardship. So we really discuss, if you think something's going to come up, if you need any help, let me know. If we have to work from home, which we've all done with all the snowstorms that will probably be coming again. And, you know, that's what we've done. I don't want to put anybody in danger coming into the office during a snowstorm. Yeah. So absolutely, we've got that flexibility.
Good. So why don't you tell everybody, you know, anything you want to about how they can get in touch with you, maybe anything you have coming up, just anything you want to share with our viewers about your company that we haven't covered.
Sure. So. Well, we are located in Wilmington, Delaware, and we're open Monday through Friday. Our website is worldwideinc.net, and we also have a Facebook page, which is facebook.com/worldwideincorporators. And we are there Monday through Friday from 8 to 7:30 because we do have a West Coast clientele, so we do have to be opened a little bit later. And we consider ourselves a unique company, more of a boutique incorporation service company. So you get to speak to an employee, not a phone tree, and that's certainly important nowadays.
So I think one of the questions that I think, you know, people hearing about your business services that you probably get a lot is, why would I come to you as opposed to going to an attorney? So do you want to answer that one maybe?
Absolutely, sure. Actually, attorneys and accountants are our clients, and they kind of stick to what they know. And they will employ us to actually file the paperwork because that's what we specialize in. So for an attorney, it's just probably simpler to have an incorporation service company actually do the work. But certainly attorneys are really needed for these customers to find out what type of entity they should file,
Sure.
what are their tax obligations or implications, and any sort of tax or legal advice, which we do not provide.
Okay. And so what can people expect when they come to you?
Well, they can expect to have somebody on the phone that is certainly very courteous and will provide lots of information for them, because we have lots of clients that this is something new for them. So we will be happy to inform and educate a new customer. And also the speed and the efficiency that everybody needs nowadays.
Yeah, so I think that was my next question. Like,
Yeah.
you know, if somebody comes to you and they want to incorporate, is there sort of an average length of the process that it would take to do that with your company? Or does it just depend on the entity?
Really depends on the state,
Okay.
but typically we can wrap everything up. We can have all the information in the same day and have the company file typically within 24 to 48 hours.
Wow.
So within a week, you're ready to roll.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's really, it's like I said, it's a niche industry, and
Yeah.
we've sort of got that all wrapped up now.
I would have thought it was a much longer process. That's really great.
We make
Yeah.
it painless.
Yeah, good, good. Well, thank you so much. You know, our last thing we're going to do here is just highlight a couple events that we think you should know in the area. So our ones for today is one coming up on November 5th called Cocktails and Couture. And that's going to be at the Marion Tribute House, and it's held by the Narberth Women's Club, and it's benefiting an organization called Achieve Now. And that'll involve food and drink, a silent auction, and a fashion show. And the fashion show this year will be by local boutique Luella, which I know a lot of us love. And the tickets for that are $40. I attended it last year, and it was a wonderful event, and I'm really looking forward to going. Another event that's coming up that I'm really excited about is actually the day after that on November 6th, and it's called Think Fest. And it's held at the LeBeau College of Business on Drexel campus. It's a one-day event that basically brings together the biggest thinkers in Philadelphia to talk about the state of the city and the future of what can be great in Philadelphia, sharing their ideas and their stories. So it's just kind of a coming together. I've been wanting to attend this event for the last couple years, and I've had conflicts, so this will be the first year I'm attending, and I'm really excited. And right now you can get an early bird ticket for $60. Again, it's called Think Fest. And I encourage a lot of you to go. You know, we try to highlight events here that involve community endeavors, nonprofit, straight networking events, family events, anything that will get you out there to help you build relationships and build your business. Because at the end of the day, I think it's about both. And we want to highlight things that you may not know about that would help you take advantage of that. So thank you so much, Jennifer, for being here today. And thank you all for joining us on Mainline Connect. And we will see you next time.